everybody. Hope you guys are keeping busy and not too bored. I hope you guys are practicing lots. I'll find out in your lessons this week. So as promised, I am creating some tutorials for you guys, and today we're going to talk about scales. So this is for beginner student. If you're a beginner, we're going to talk about major keys, just on the white keys, as I know many of my students, but if you're not my student and you're watching this, we're going to be working on major keys on the white keys. And we're going to talk about our right hand. So what's really cool about the right hand in major scales is that majority of them have the same fingering. And we're going to start with C major. So it's really simple. We're going to start with our thumb, right? That's the finger that doesn't lie like the other fingers. A lot of times when we go to play scales, sometimes we want to start like that, right? But we want to make sure that it's on the side, right? Like this, right? Because we want to go with the way that it is naturally built, right? So we don't want that, because sometimes that happens. We want this way, right? So we're going to start with C major. So we're going to start on C, and I'm not going to start on middle C. I'm going to start on the higher C so you can see better. So we're going to have our thumb on there, and as many of you remember, we do 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to tuck under. So how does that look? All right, I'm going to do it here so you can see. 1, 2, 3, tuck. It's almost like you're bowing, right? 1, 2, 3, bow. If you want to practice that with me. 1, 2, 3, bow, right? And then you got to slide your fingers over. So if you, let me start here so you have more room. So 1, 2, 3, bow, 2, 3, 4, 5. And for us, for the younger students or just a newer beginner, that is always our fingering for majority of our major keys. So if we did our C major scale, that's our fingering. And then it's the same going down. Right? Now, if you're not sure of what the notes are in the scale, how do you figure them out? So as we've talked in our lessons, music notes are made up of white keys and black keys. And if we go right to the very next note, we call that a half step. If we skip that black note there and go to the next white key, we call that a whole step. So major scale, such as C major, is made up of a combination of whole steps, right, and half steps. Now this is where it gets a little tricky, because sometimes half steps happen between white keys, right? Normally when we go to a half step, we go to a black key, right? But if, like here you can see on E to F, I'm going to move that a little bit closer so you can see, because you don't really need to see me, right? That's a half step, right? But there's no black key in the beginning. It's white to white, right? So half steps sometimes are black to white or white to white, right? So we want to make sure that we do it. So what is it? So do you have a piece of paper and pen? This is a good way to remember. So you're going to have a whole step, another whole step, a half step, a whole step, whole step, whole step, and then a half step. And it doesn't matter which major key. So if you were on a black key, that is exactly the same pattern. It's always whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. So 2 halves, 2 wholes, a half, 3 wholes, and a half. It's always exactly the same. So you want to remember that. Right? So go through and practice all your scales. Now, a lot of times we want to rush through our scales, right? Because we want to get to the fun part. We want to play our pieces. But if you look at a lot of times, especially as you get a little bit more advanced, a lot of times your songs are full of scales. So the more you practice your scales, the more you can have fun playing your piece. So you want to do them really slowly and steady, right? So you can count them. So you could do something like this. Let's do E major, because I already played D major. So we're going to play E major. So you can count it like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And so you can do that with all of them. And it really helps you cut get through them, right? So that's what you want to do. And if you want to be really brave and if you want to work really hard and you get to do that, your right hand, then we're going to move to our left hand. Now remember, our hands are opposite, right? Right? If you look at them, right? Where your fifth finger is, if you match them up, they're opposite. So what you want to do is think of that. You want to be the opposite. So if we were going to start with our left hand, we're going to start with, obviously, with our pinky because we want to go up the keyboard, right? Right? Remember before we did 1, 2, 3, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So because we're starting with the fifth finger, we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, oops, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Then we're going to cross over. Remember, we're going to do that bow. Now it's the opposite. 3, 2, 1. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1. And you can even practice that. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1. Right? And then going down is the same as the other way. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And it doesn't matter which major key. It's the same, except for B major. And B major is weird. We start on our fourth finger. And if you want, you can give it a good pinch to remember. And it's this one. And this one always gives us trouble, I know, in our lessons. And it's 4, 3, 2, 1, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's do that together. 4, 3, 2, 1, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then we're going to go back down. And again, you want to count 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Yeah, so practice those this week, nice and slow. Don't try to do them fast because what happens is our fingers can't move fast and then we end up making mistakes. So slow and steady wins the race. Hope that helps, and I'll be sending more of these.